people buying action cameras right now have never done anything extreme with them. And honestly, when was the last time you've used yours for something dangerous? That had me thinking, are we killing the action camera category, or are we actually saving it? Today we're going through the full history, the real reason behind this shift, and whether these cameras have a future in their original form. So let's go back to the year 2004. I was 14 and LimeWire was in full swing, nuking my family's computer. The original GoPro launched as a simple Chinese rebranded 35mm film camera. Waterproof, wrist mounted, made just for surfers to capture still photos. This first version, believe it or not, had no video whatsoever. GoPro finally added video in 2006 with the Digital Hero. A super basic digital version, low res VGA stills, tiny 320 by 240 clips at around 10 FPS with only 10-second bursts. No continuous recording, and early ones didn't even have audio. But it kept that rugged mountable design and finally let people that were into action sports capture motion. Things improved rapidly after that, with better quality and audio showing up in the 2007 Digital Hero 3. And after that release, this is when the true HD cameras in 2009 with the HD Hero line came out. The third version of their Hero line is actually my very first dedicated action camera. Now, if you're looking at the footage shot from this GoPro Hero 3, what are our thoughts? We feeling a little nostalgic watching these videos? Fast forwarding to 2019 with the DJI Osmo Action. That seriously challenged GoPro at the time with killer EIS, dual screens, and 4K right out of the gate. Insta360 started off a little differently, beginning in 2015 with 360-degree cameras, then moving into traditional action cameras the same time as DJI in 2019 with their super tiny Insta360 Go. But they really started competing head on with their flagship Ace Pro series. Recently being abroad in Asia last month, there's no shortage of seeing these cameras in the wild being used for totally non-action stuff. From grandpas filming their evening strolls through Soy Cowboy in Bangkok, to influencers promoting the new overpriced coffee place. Looking at the overall stats, this is really being backed up. By 2026, the global action camera market is expected to be worth between 8 and 9 billion USD. It has a projected compound annual growth rate of 11 to 13% for the next several years. Now, it's to be expected that sports and adventure still make up around 40 to 60% of use from these cameras. The core stuff like surfing, skiing, biking, where you really need hands-free, rugged POV. But now, looking over at this shift, travel, vlogging, and everyday lifestyle shooting is now the fastest growing segment, often 40% or more in reports, showing roughly half the user base has shifted hard towards casual, immersive daily capture, where action cameras feel more convenient and purpose-built than just using your phone for everything. Now, looking at the other side of things, are people actually doing less action-related activities? Some hardcore ones like jet skiing, hang gliding have seen big drops in interest, 30 to 56% search declines in recent years. But overall outdoor use, that's another thing. That market is booming. Looking at numbers in the US, casual gateway stuff like hiking, e-biking, and climbing are just absolutely peaking at the moment. It's not that extreme sports are dying, it's that the broader user base is leaning casual and lifestyle, which is why these cameras are being repurposed so much. And the shift goes beyond traditional action cameras getting repurposed. Look at the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, still crushing it in 2026, 2 years after its release, having become the kind of lifestyle vlogging and daily video camera. With that 1-inch sensor for way better low light and dynamic range, mechanical gimbal for extreme smoothness, rotatable screen, and active track, it's really become the go-to for creators who want cinematic footage of walks with their dog. While it's not built for extreme abuse like a chest-mounted action camera, but for walking around vlogs, travel, everyday content, people prefer it because the image quality just looks much closer to mirrorless. Looking at this space in a whole, it sort of feels like we've come to the point where each release feels like just an incremental bump. Like most tech these days, sure, but is it possible we're going to have to give up some of that ultra light portability to get the big advancements we really, really want. Here's the thing though, the shift we're seeing isn't just about what consumers want. Shareholder pressure is very much in the room in these discussions. GoPro especially has had rough years, revenue down massively in 2025, with them losing most market share worldwide to companies like DJI and Insta360. Shareholders want growth and profitability. Because of this, I think brands might start to feel the push to phase out or de-emphasize traditional action cams in favor of higher margin premium cinema and vlogging plays that expand the total market. Is that the real endgame? Action cameras as we know it getting sidelined for shareholder demands? Now, GoPro just dropped news of their new GP3 processor a few days ago on March 3rd. This is their first major custom chip upgrade in years. This is powering the next wave coming Q2 this year, with an expected Hero 14 and Max 3 release, with the possibility of a dedicated vlogging cam. Not only that, they're also teasing an ultra-premium compact cinema-grade camera aimed at pro-level image quality and low light gathering. Even GoPro seems to be branching out from pure action cameras into more general video and filmmaking territory. But here's the technical wall that these companies are hitting in the traditional action camera form. To get a true 1-inch sensor that fits in there for that increased low light capability and dynamic range boost, looking at today's current body sizes, it's not necessarily realistic. The sensor itself is about 13 by 9 millimeters compared to the 9 by 10 diagonals in today's action cams. Not to mention, it needs bigger glass, better heat management, and more power. Stuff that would force the body to grow 20 to 50% or compromise waterproofing and mountability. This, in my opinion, is why the three have stuck with smaller sensors so far. Brands are going all in on lens accessories to squeeze more character out of these small bodies. With Insta360 pumping out accessories like Nick Cannon has kids, it's obvious they're trying to expand the reach of these tiny sensors. My favorite accessory though, when paired with the DJI, of course, is this macro lens. And when paired with the f2 aperture, it really adds nice depth and character to the shots without barely changing the form factor of the body. And if accessories are the band-aid for now, you might as well use the good ones, which brings me to something I've been running on almost every outdoor shoot lately. The freewheel ND filters are a small addition to your bag, but can make a really big difference on how your footage actually looks if you're aiming for natural looking footage. With the macro lens being a very intentional device, there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't be going all the way with your footage, making it look smoother and more natural if you care about that overall look. These are super easy to use, you just pop them on, and with this you can shoot in lower shutter speeds and bright light without blowing out the sky or losing detail. Even with it about to rain and overcast, you still need ND filters with this. Now, if you're wanting to shoot in f4, it's not going to be needed nearly as much. But if you want to shoot f2 and you really want to get that maximum shallow depth of field, it's completely necessary when shooting daytime footage that you want to look natural. 9 times out of 10, I'm shooting on the macro lens on the DJI Action 6 if I'm doing personal work and not just general comparisons. If you're looking to upgrade your footage or even your user experience, I have a link in the description below. All right, let's go back to the future of these cameras. The shift feels even bigger when you look at stuff like the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which is still dominating lifestyle and vlogging sales in 2026. Or even the Insta360 Luna, announced in February, launch expected first half of 2026, potentially March or April rumored, jumping in as a direct pocket rival with dual lenses, wide plus telephoto, 3x optical zoom, AI bokeh and tracking, upgraded video features, and a modular twist gimbal design. These pocket gimbal cameras feel like the modern rebranding for daily lifestyle video people, prioritizing cinematic image quality, zoom, smoothness in a tiny package over the full rugged action toughness. The demand for better quality in small form is huge. So how long before pure action built devices start selling less in the lifestyle space, and the rugged classic mount anywhere form factor gets pushed to the side for these more cinema focused hybrids? Now, could shareholder pressure also play a role here too? We've already talked about GoPro's rough years, but is the real endgame action cameras as we know them getting sidelined while every brand chases the lifestyle and cinema market share? Bigger sensors for killer low light with pro-grade features, all while still staying pocketable, or will the bodies have to get larger to meet demands? What do you think? Are we, as vloggers, killing the industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you still all in on the action cameras for daily life, or starting to look at a bigger setup like the pockets or mirrorless systems? Let's talk. Again, I have links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.